about 20 years, so if not terribly familiar with your.
That's okay. We don't bite.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
But
I want to be able to get them on camera too. And so.
A little bit of technical difficulties this morning.
do we know if Scott is on?
Not yet. I think he's trying to, I see some names up top.
No.
I see Tyrone.
I know he's on.
Okay.
All right, great. We on the record? Thank you. Good morning. This is the March 20th, 2025 meeting of the Southern Region Board of Review. This hearing is being held via WebEx video conference at the Perry B. Duryea Jr. State Office Building, 250 Veterans Memorial Highway, Conference Room 4A98, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. The time is now 9:23 and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Andrew Hames, who is not present today, Erica Schaub, Richard Pavone, Laura Buzlayman, and myself, Robert Peterson, Chairman. From the Department of State are Courtney Nation and CJ Ajoku. We are adding an administrative matter to today's agenda. Each year, members of the regional boards are required, as per Title 19 NYCRR, Part 1205.2, to choose a chairperson from among its members. This vote will be the last item on the agenda today. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. The first hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0414. The petitioner is Scott Tyrone for Phyllis Milliken. Okay, thank you for that. This petition pertains to an existing detached two-story single-family dwelling of wood frame construction. The dwelling is approximately 3,390 square feet in total gross floor area and is located at 11 Elm Street. I think that's Greenvale.
Yes.
Okay, Town of North Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R302.1, which requires that construction, projections, openings, and penetrations of exterior walls of dwellings and accessory buildings shall comply with Table R302.11, or dwellings equipped throughout with an automatic sprinkler system installed in accordance with Section P2904 shall comply with Table R302.1.2. The petitioner wishes the setbacks created by a subdivision to remain. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kathleen Deegan-Dixon. I'm a partner in the law firm of Torcelli Deegan-Trana, LLP, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Glendale, New York. I'm here on behalf of Ralph and Phyllis Milliken, who are the owners of the property at 11 Elm Street in Greendale. As the chair correctly stated, this property is in the town of North Hempstead, and Mr. and Mrs. Milliken are making an application to the town of North Hempstead to subdivide their 100-foot by 90-foot lot into two separate single-family lots. The initial proposal was to start with 250 by 90 lots, which would be compliant with the street frontage, lot frontage requirements of the town of North Hempstead. In consulting with Scott Tyrone and the architect, it was suggested that we seek an opinion from Mr. Nation about whether we could maintain a new property line 1.5 feet or 1.3 feet off of the existing house. So the lot that's to be subdivided is currently vacant. It is the house that Mr. Milliken grew up in. It was his grandfather's house from when it was built in the 1920s. There was an addition put on the house in the 1990s, but there's been no other construction to the house since then. Mr. Nation suggested that any new property line should be set at least 3 feet away from the dwelling just to allow for proper egress, but had indicated that relief from 302.1 was not required because the home that we were going to maintain is not new construction and there's no new construction proposed for that. The subdivision application indicates the building envelope for the new lot, which is the easterly lot, that shows a 7-foot setback between the proposed new dwelling on the easterly lot and the new property line. And that we would maintain then 3 feet between the existing dwelling and the new property line. So there would be a total of 10-foot fire separation or building separation between the two buildings after the subdivision is complete and the house is constructed. This is an old established neighborhood. Most of the houses in the neighborhood were built around the same time in the early parts of the 1900s, the first quarter of the 1900s. There are some newer homes, and most of the older homes have 3-foot setbacks to their property line. Most of the newer homes have a minimum of 5 feet, and as mentioned, we're proposing 7 feet for the new dwelling to be created on the vacant property. So after we had gotten Mr. Nation's opinion on the setback, our expediter, Scott Tyrone, submitted the application to the town of North Hempstead, and we received an omissions letter saying that the property line had to be set 5 feet from the existing home, or that the new home, we had to submit plans to show how the existing home would have fire rated construction on that easterly wall. We responded that this was the exact question that we had posed to Mr. Nation, and this was the response. The town of North Hempstead Building Department leaders got together, kicked it around and said, no, we still think we need to fire rate the existing home. So they said, you're welcome to go to the Board of Review. So here we are. Reading the town's arguments, I have to say they feel they're working very hard to try to create an ambiguity in the code where I don't think any ambiguity exists. It's very clear from the plain language of 302.1 that this applies to construction. And that if you're going to construct a house within 5 feet of a property line, that you need to fire rate it. We are not altering the existing home at all. And to mitigate any concerns, we are going to require that any new construction take place more than 5 feet away from the new property line, but also just in addition to mitigate any concerns, to have a full separation between dwellings of 10 feet. So that would have the same practical effect as having a 5-foot setback on each house. The practical difficulty with providing 5 feet would be the reduction of the new lot size to something that I don't think the town of North Hempstead would be prepared to approve. Almost every property in that neighborhood, with the exception of one, are 50 by 80 foot lots. So I think we have a good case for the zoning board that to diminish one of the lots to and augment the other one to comply with good fire safety recommendations. I think that, no guarantees, but I think that the zoning board is more likely to be receptive to that. If we were to extend it another 1.5 feet, I think that would be that would make the new lot much less compliant with the character of the neighborhood and with the other homes that are already constructed there. I think the Millikens have, as I said, owned this house since the 70s. Mr. Milliken grew up there. It was his grandparents' house. It was always the intention of the family to keep this side lot as a nest egg and to sell it off when the time was appropriate. The time is appropriate. We've been at this for a little bit of time. It took them a while to get before this board. They're anxious to move forward so that they can now make a formal, continue their application to the town of North Hempstead. So we would ask that you would consider either affirming Mr. Nation's interpretation or grant a variance, seeing as we've now accommodated all the fire safety concerns that 302.1 would prescribe.
Thank you. Would that be an appeal? She said a variance or, agree and grant.
Well, they have requested an appeal because they disagree with the
Gotcha.
code official's ruling that par 302 pertains to this application.
So agreeing with your interpretation of the code would be an appeal to the town of North Hempstead or grant a variance based on some distance in perpetuity, I guess, on the other lot. There would be an agreement to
Yes.
not have any development in perpetuity for that new lot closer to the property line to create that 10-foot buffer that you talked about.
Yes, it would be a commitment. We would do it either as a covenant or, we could do it as a covenant to this board, or we could do it as a covenant to the town of North Hempstead. I'm sure that they'll hold us to that.
Okay.
So would parcel B for the proposed new dwelling, so that has not been heard by the Board of Appeals yet, is that correct?
Correct.
So the distance separation on the west wall of parcel B plus the east wall of the existing dwelling on parcel A. You've made a statement, what's the total distance separation, forgetting the property line for a second,
Okay.
what would be from proposed building to existing building, what would be that dimension?
10.1 feet.
And what is do you know what the fire rating of the assembly of the west wall of the proposed dwelling be at that point?
We don't know because we haven't proposed a dwelling. We're really just proposing the lot and the building envelope. So my expectation is that the town of North Hempstead will, and our architect will design it to whatever the appropriate fire rating is for a 7-foot setback to the
Well, it's a
property.
good point, though, as a condition, there could be a 1-hour fire rated requirement on that new construction that would normally not be required
Right.
based on the distance separation on the new structure to the property line.
Yeah, and I'm not a design professional or a contractor, so I don't know what the cost differential is.
It's not a lot. It's,
So-
if you're building new construction, it's an assembly rating. It's not just a finish.
Okay,
So if it's 2x6 wood frame construction, might have some fire rated drywall and then some non-combustible siding and you're done, which is very common construction today anyway.
Mhm.
So I don't think that would be an egregious request.
no, to me, it
Yeah.
sounds reasonable
On the new,
on the new building.
yes.
I have a bunch of questions, so I'm just going to spitfire and you guys can jump in. I don't see on the survey the setback you mentioned in your testimony. There's a 1.9?
Yeah, so the original one, I don't think you have the original submission. That, it actually was not a submission. It was, the 1.9 was our split the building, it split the lot 50/50, and that was just an internal discussion. So by splitting it 50/50, that left us with a 1 point.
So I have the survey from Empire State Land Surveying,
Yes.
and it's last dated
April 17th.
17/20/24. I don't see any setbacks.
Right, and it appears that the dwelling itself, the existing dwelling is skewed somewhat,
Yeah.
so the southerly corner of that looks like it's further away than the northerly corner of the existing dwelling. So there appears to be a difference between the setback. That would help us to know there's two different,
But what is the setback?
that's what I mean, what is the
It's-
setback from this north?
It is on here, so
Which one?
it's on the,
Because there's a deck in the north, but
right, so there's the combined survey that shows the entire property. In addition, then there's the two separate lots. And there's a little
Oh, I see.
But on the westerly lot, the existing house, inside the shaded area where it shows the house, you'll see a 3.0 west. And then, that's toward the back,
On the parcel B survey.
on the parcel A survey.
The parcel A survey, does it have the 3.0
Oh, it
west?
also focuses-
Maybe I'm,
it's
3.6 west, 3.6 west, 3.0, so there is a difference.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's about-
plus your 7 feet, so your smallest distance would be
10.1,
10.1 on the north corner of the existing dwelling,
correct.
or where the deck is.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
and from your experience, you feel like the 1.5 foot reduction in parcel B would be something the board would not approve to get the 5 foot setback? right? It has to be a
Well, so
50-foot
It's supposed to be 50 feet. We're already reducing it to 48.4.
to get the 5-foot distance
So-
separation per the building code.
That would require another reduction down to 46.9. Which I think,
We're talking about fire safety. That's, that's our
Right.
job as a board. So
understood, yeah.
there might be some other mitigating factors we could put in place, but to me, it doesn't seem like a lot. It's this.
Yeah, I mean, the concern is that we try to keep the lots as consistent as possible. What the zoning board wants to do is, try not to change anything about the character of the neighborhood. As I mentioned, all of the lots in the neighborhood are 50 feet wide. I think to reduce it by 1.6 to allow for a 3-foot separation and to maintain the setback, I think that that's something that the board would consider de minimis. I'm a little bit concerned that if we go beyond that to 3 feet, that they may consider that more substantial because that's now approaching, a larger reduction.
So you're okay with having the new dwelling being narrower to get that?
Yeah, and actually,
10-foot
I
separation.
don't think it'll have to be narrower because we'll just shift the setbacks over. The required setbacks for the lot are about 12.6 or so.
Side yard setbacks?
Side yard setbacks, yeah. So we'll just put the
5-foot
setback on the east side and maintain the 7-foot setback on the west.
So there's an aggregate? Couldn't you just have 12 on
Yes.
the side we're talking about, and then we have a better distance separation?
So the code requires 25 feet, 25% of the lot width, the town of North Hempstead zoning code.
Mhm.
25% of the lot width as your aggregate side yard setbacks, with no single side yard setback being less than 5 feet. So we would put the 5-foot setback on the east side, just find it. So the aggregate setback has to be 12.1 feet. But it's possible, they may not build the house fully out to the setbacks either. That's just the maximum that you could build to.
Mhm.
They may choose to have a more narrow area so that they can get a driveway in or things of that nature. But that would be just the building envelope. That would be the maximum or minimum permitted side yards or the maximum size of the width of the house. There's also FAR considerations and things that would have to go into the design.
We have 2 fire officials on the board, so I want to ask a question. Would you guys be okay if there was a driveway abutting that property line with a car parked in? Like if they built the house and there was a driveway right on, and it was so close to the property line?
I mean, it would catch on fire just the same as a house would.
But it's closer to the building,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to,
You're talking
Sure, we-
a driveway or garage?
a driveway, like you mentioned.
So you're putting the driveway on the west side of.
No, I'm
the dwelling.
I'm spitfiring here just to make sure we address all potential concerns. So if this had a 10-foot side yard in perpetuity with the property and it was wide enough to get a car in there to a rear garage or, I don't know, propane tanks, generator, anything on that side that could potentially cause conflagration to the building to the west, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm just trying to think of all the other developments that are as old as this area that are within Nassau County, for the sake of the argument, or town of North Hempstead. You're driving cars in these substandard lots right up against.
Look at the existing house.
Could I
No, I know that.
submit an aerial photo
Sure,
of the
sure.
neighborhood?
Yep.
I'm more concerned over the propane tanks. if
Yeah.
We're gonna use it than I am a car, quite honestly.
Excuse me?
Unless it's an electric car.
Oh, I'm telling you, we've had more fires with the electric cars
Yes.
than anything.
And we would with it.
The town of North Hempstead does not allow things like propane tanks and air conditioning compressors in the side yard setback. Those would have to be located in the rear of the house.
If they're underground, they do.
Oh,
It's above ground, and you got to meet the setbacks, but when it's below ground, you can still put a tank, and then you got the fire safety codes at 10 feet to the
you don't.
tank.
Yes, we have that. So
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
street there, so like the little propane tank is less.
That's the house down the block. So, I mean, that may be,
So it's not labeled on here, but the one lot that's almost in the middle, 108 and 109, you can see the house and the vacant yard. Every other property has and with the Nassau County tax mapper, for whatever reason, it shifts the pink lot lines are a little bit off.
Yeah,
So the line for 108 really should be on the west side of that driveway with those two white cars, and everything shifted accordingly to the west.
does 106 go into a garage? Is that a street?
it's a driveway.
That's the
Driveway, oh,
So what's the existing siding on the house now? Finished? It's vinyl, okay. And how old is that house? You mentioned that it was your grandfather's house? or-
Yeah, well, the house itself was built in 1920,
Okay,
but we did an upgrade in 1990,
okay.
and everything was sided at that particular point.
Did they go over the existing siding or did they remove?
They removed it, it was shingle,
It was wood shingle?
yeah,
And they took the wood shingle off, they put like insulation on the house and then put the
Yes.
vinyl, okay.
yes.
So vinyl's not great when it's exposed to heat. Would you be amenable to maybe re-siding and just non-combustible siding rather than doing a 1 hour rating? Like re-side, what is it, just horizontal vinyl siding?
Yes.
You know, like a hardy plank, ever hear that's like a cement
Yeah,
board?
mhm.
It's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. And you just reclad that, you know, you match the color and it's non-combustible. And then we give some distance separations from the new construction. Okay,
Yeah.
we were just talking here, but,
Yeah,
that's something that we've done in the past as a board.
On the one side of the house.
On the one side where the code requires it to be 1 hour, based on the municipality's interpretation.
yeah, our bigger concern is that the kitchen is on that wall. So if we were required to do anything on the interior, it would require a complete
Understood,
removal of everything inside, and
understood.
fire rate it and then replace it. So that would really be cost prohibitive.
Okay. I understand, yes. Courtney, do we want to get into the nuances of the code and what the town isn't citing as the triggering events, which is location, even though they're not doing any construction? On the
That's entirely up to the board.
I mean, we can get really granular if you want. I mean, is it necessary? We all understand,
I understand what's going on. So
we
I
understand.
mean, even if you take the town's position with this, the petitioner is requesting a variance in that, under those,
Okay,
We're
So-
working on the variance, not on the appeal. That's what you're saying.
well, it's up to
well,
us.
No,
you have to decide
yeah,
whether there's sufficient evidence here that says the code requires a variance. Or you could say, for safety's sake, we are going to require this, whether this appeal is granted in favor of the applicant or not. There's tons of ways to go about this, so, the board would just have to satisfy itself that,
Well, the appeal would be a moot point if we issued a variance.
Right, we don't have a preference.
Right, so either way, so if we put conditions on this, which would be something reasonable to create a level of fire safety, I'm comfortable with that. So,
I mean, you obviously put some time into this. It's your argument and explains everything. It's not really an argument, but your summary. So I didn't want to just glaze over it, but I think it was extremely helpful to understand the path of the code to get this. And I understand as a code official, the other side's argument, where I personally feel that moving that property line, even though you're not doing any work, is a code triggering event. And I don't think the code addresses it properly. And it does increase the fire safety aspect of two buildings next to each other. But I don't know why over the years that it hasn't been addressed in interpretations or any kind of code commentary. So, and you can line up 10 code officials, they can all say different things. So, and with that being said, I mean, I think there's a path to approval here. I think we need to talk it out. Do we have any other questions that might help us?
I would like to just point out though, not on that issue, but if we had a 5-foot setback between buildings, there would be no fire rated construction required on either building. And we're willing to commit to doing the exterior of one and on both of them, even though the fire separation is going to be the same distance that it would be with a compliant lot setback. So we have, whether it's 5 and 5 or it's 3 and 7, it's still the same 10 feet. You know, and I'm not a fire official and I'm not a firefighter, and so there may be other aspects that are of concern, but I just did want to point that out for the record. So because all of these are cost concerns, obviously fire safety trumps cost, but if it is something that can be satisfied by that 10-foot distance between the buildings without having to incur the additional cost, it would be something that my clients would be happy with. That being
So the way,
said,
yes, the way the new code is set up for new construction, structures need to be built a certain distance to the property line. It's not between two buildings.
right,
We're identifying that you're going to put a CNR on the new, because they own basically both lots,
right,
and agree to the fact that you'll maintain this distance separation, which functions the same way as to a property line.
right.
So I think that helps the argument. And that was part of Mr. Nation's argument, was that Appendix J, which is the existing code, treats it differently than new construction. And that was the argument that it isn't a code triggering event by just creating a line. So
So would you be agreeable also that on parcel B that there would be the CNR that says that there will be no further additions constructed in the future into the west property line to further reduce that 10-foot separation?
Yes, we'd be amenable.
how about appurtenances, accessory structures? Appurtenances would be a generator, an AC unit, anything that could be a source of ignition for a fire, stuff like that, that would eliminate a
So-
potential problem, electrical shorts or whatever, in that distance separation that we're
Between
mandating.
the two dwellings.
Between,
If
yes,
we did a detached garage in the back, we're allowed to have a lesser setback if it's not adjacent or parallel to the other buildings. Would that be an exception to that? Yeah, as long as-
well, again, if you're going to create a new accessory structure, you would need to meet that 5-foot,
Okay.
but you're committing to a 10-foot.
Right, but what I'd like to do is, if you look at the rear of the property, there is.
It's only going to be 15-foot rear yard setback? Is that what it says on?
Yes, but that's for the principal dwelling. There's, no,
It's a good question.
yeah, I mean, because I would imagine, we don't have plans for the house, as I said. It's possible that they may just sell a lot to somebody who will build a home. They may choose to have a detached garage in the back that won't be adjacent to the other house. If it's got to be compliant with the 5-foot setback anyway, I'm sure that, because that will be new construction. We have no argument with that.
Well, this is a good point, because we're talking about creating a 10-foot, right? 10-foot separation
10-foot separation between the buildings, between the
between the
two
buildings.
homes.
Okay, I thought it was,
Right,
But the accessory garage, detached garage is permitted to have a lesser setback to the property line, to the rear and side property line,
under the.
under the zoning
The
code.
zoning code. It sounds like under 302.1, it still would be required to be 5 feet from the property line. But with for new construction or,
I don't believe so.
Per your exhibit, you notice some of the garages are shoehorned in the corner. And what Mr. Levone is saying, they're allowed in the code to be closer to the property line. They have to have the rating to require. Well, if there's no opening in those walls, it can be right on the lot line.
If you take example to lot 108, which is your client's property,
right,
the detached garage is in the northwest corner of the property, and the non-conforming dwelling has an L-shaped cutout so that the detached garage doesn't attach to the dwelling itself. On the parcel B, which is the new proposed dwelling, although I understand you're representing the maximum amount that can be built, the house would have to be designed then for a detached garage in the northwest corner of parcel B, but not actually creating a connection between the new proposed dwelling, then further reducing that setback to the new property line. So I think you would have to be designed, that's a design issue for later, so we have to word this properly. If we're going to
Yeah.
say that there's a condition in how we do it, because then it would afford the new dwelling or property owner to have a detached garage if the new dwelling was designed properly, not to be as maximum as big as the permitted in the exhibit.
So the existing structure at that northerly corner is 3 feet from the property line. And you're agreeing that, or you're proposing that you would create a covenant that you would maintain a 5-foot distance to the structures on the new lot, correct? So then if you did a garage, you'd need to be 8 feet to the property line. I'm approaching this simplistically, not accessory structure or new structure, just any new construction or appurtenances. If we craft it that way, your accessory garage would need to be a minimum of 8 feet from that dividing line. Right? The 5 foot,
So,
right, would is 2 feet short. So you add the 2 feet to the 5 foot, which is 7. Or you want to just maintain a 5 foot.
no, I would just want to maintain 5 foot.
I thought we were
because
talking about 10 feet total between
Well,
structures.
Between, and it would be between structures.
So is my math wrong?
Adjacent to, if it's tucked in the back, the northwest corner of the property, there would be, there's plenty of room between that property, the newly created property line and the frame garage on the Milliken's existing property.
Yeah, I don't know how we can word that because it rides with the property. So any renovations on parcel A might be limited now than just a new lot. So if somebody wanted to do a deck or, I don't know, put a shed back there, or then you're going to create a violation.
Could we say something like the principal structures must be separated by no less than 10 feet?
The code says accessory too, right, Mr. Courtney?
Yeah, the code, if you have
I just
two
read it.
structures on one lot, and they are less than 5 feet, I mean, less than 10 feet from each other, and they're wood frame, there's a lot of ifs there. I think what code would consider is all of that as one building area.
All right, so R 302.1 states which requires that construction, projections, openings, and penetrations of exterior walls of dwellings and accessory buildings in the code. So it would apply to an accessory garage. Okay. So I think,
Like an easement.
well, that's what we're talking about. We want to make sure that the concept of the distance separation is maintained with the new construction.
You don't have separate garages.
Well, that would be the thing, if they're not going to be a separate garage, then it's not an issue.
Right,
But we don't know what.
most
I'm sorry,
newer
what's that?
construction is garages with the house.
So there might be a general way we can draft this up that says maintain 10 feet. And primary structure and accessory structures between those two lots. 10 feet. So we don't get
Between the
that
structures on the two lots.
on the two lots, yeah.
So it wouldn't have to be a 10-foot setback from the new property line to an
Well, I
existing.
mean, it's tough because everything, the code references to the property line. The property line is the defining,
Mhm.
so I don't know how we draft that. 5 feet on the new lot, and then within any structures would have to be 10 feet. So even like a shed, a
So you're
swimming
saying on
pool.
the existing lot, on the existing.
Well, it would be the new lot, minimum
of
10-foot reference to the structures on the existing lot. Did I say that right? Am I-
Yes, so in
Am I
the
confusing
future,
myself?
no, in the future then, lot A, if there's construction on lot B, for instance, a separate garage that is very close to the lot line, then lot A cannot construct within 10 feet of that structure on lot B.
Well, anything new would have to comply with the code, which is
5 feet.
Which is the 5
Yeah, but
feet.
we're not complying with the code now.
No, but we're
So-
trying to
So you
regulate.
cannot go all the way to 5 feet on
Yeah.
lot A.
Okay,
I think that's okay, as long as, so if we comply with the code by putting an accessory garage right on the property line in the back with no windows or whatever. If they want to add anything to the backyard of the existing house, it would have to be 10 feet from that property line.
As long as the accessory structure doesn't connect to the main dwelling.
Even,
Well, then it wouldn't be accessory.
Well, I know that, but.
Yeah, and it couldn't anyway if it was that close, the town would.
Time, please.
Excuse me?
So we need to talk one at a time for the
Oh,
clerk
okay.
reporter.
Oh, sorry.
Is there anybody from the town?
I was just about to ask, Mr. Alternate Chairman.
No, I just, I don't know if there's something.
Yeah, me too. Is there anybody here to speak on this matter? Anybody else? All right, we're gonna go talk this out. We're gonna arm wrestle over it and come up with some good language.
Do we
Okay.
expect a decision today or?
Yeah, if you don't mind stepping out, we'll do our best to get it done as quick as possible, and we'll come back and give you a decision.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You got
Thank
it.
you for coming.
yes.
Really.
It's kind of,
You have a notepad? Okay. Okay, with respect to petition number 2024-0414, the Millikens, a petitioner seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R302.1. The board makes the following findings. Number one, a 9,000 square foot parcel located at the subject address is proposed to be subdivided into two separate approximately 4,500 square foot parcels. Number two, the proposed subdivision would create a new lot line that falls at least 3 feet east of the west wall of the subject dwelling, which was built in 1920. Number three, the town believes that the existing dwelling needs to conform to section R302.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State and is required by the virtue of this to have fire resistance rated east walls. Number four, the petitioner believes that creating a lot line does not trigger a requirement to conform to R302.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State and is supported by this in an opinion letter from technical staff at the DOS. Number five, the board has heard arguments on both sides and feels that the matter is somewhat ambiguous and inconclusive in the code. Number six, 19 NYCRR Section 1205.4C states that in cases before a regional board of review on appeal, that the board may fashion suitable remedies so as to do justice among the parties, including but not limited to where an order of determination has been made, sustaining, reversing, or modifying in whole or in part such an order of determination. Number seven, in order to fashion a suitable remedy between the parties, the board is opting to reconstitute the applicant's request as a variance to section R302.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number eight, the residential code allows buildings on the same lot to have a minimum of 10-foot separation between dwelling units as per table 302.1. Alternatively, the facing dwelling units are allowed to be a minimum of 5 feet away, provided the facing wall of one dwelling has a minimum of 1 hour fire-resistant construction and protected openings. Number nine, the board considers it to be more practical to impose construction or separating distance requirements on the proposed dwelling rather than the existing dwelling. Is that something we need to change? Think we're thorough enough and we still. So should I strike that whole? Strike it. So we're going to end at number 8 for the findings, correct, Mr. Nation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, in view of the above findings, the board denies the appeal of the petitioner without prejudice and therefore sustains the determination of the code enforcement official. Insufficient evidence has been provided to warrant reversing the determination of the code official. Strict compliance with the code would entail practical difficulties or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would be unnecessary in light of alternatives, which would ensure the achievement of the code's intended objective, or in light of the alternatives, which without a loss of level and safety achieve the code's intended objective more efficiently, effectively, or economically. I love that one. Okay, wherefore it is determined that the application for variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R302.1, be it is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Number one, that the subject existing parcel A dwelling and any existing accessory structures shall maintain a minimum of 3 feet from the east property line. Number 2, that any new construction on the adjacent parcel B to the east of the subject dwelling shall be located a minimum of 10 feet away from the east wall of the existing parcel A dwelling. Number 3, that the east wall of the existing parcel A dwelling shall be clad with non-combustible siding. Number 4, that the west wall of any new construction on parcel B shall have a minimum 1-hour fire-rated assembly. And number 5, that the proposed construction on parcel B shall comply with all other applicable provisions of the current uniform code. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
I'll make the motion.
May I get a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So you had those 5 conditions.
Can I ask you to read 3 again?
Number 3,
Yes.
that the east wall of the existing parcel A dwelling shall be clad with non-combustible siding. That was that cement siding we were talking about before in the hearing. Some manufacturers like James Hardy has a product. There's some other manufacturers out there. It's a non-combustible siding that you can just,
So that's in addition to the 10-foot separation?
yes. This addresses the parcel A dwelling. The others are all on parcel B.
And just on the outside?
Correct, it's not the assembly, so if somebody questioned that, it's just the cladding side.
Okay. Is there a, how does this get communicated to the town of North Hempstead?
Mr. Nation?
After the transcript is received, we'll write it up and it's the chairman's signature and then distribute it to all parties.
We've been running
How long
probably
does that take?
4 to 6 weeks, I think, usually.
4 to 6 weeks.
Typically, we've been running about a month plus. I don't go on vacation, so sign it right away.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 601. We have Carrie Place, who's with us today on this matter.
I'm Don Sclair, architect for the project, and Kirk Lazaridis, owner.
Thanks for your patience, guys. Okay, we'll read this into the record, and then I'll give you the floor, okay?
All right.
What's the address here, Carrie?
7 Carey Place.
7 Carey Place.
Thank you. Okay, the second hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0601. The petitioner is Donald and Lisa Sklar and for Carey Place LLC. Did I pronounce that
Sclair.
correctly? Sklar or Sklar?
Yes, thank you.
Sklar, okay. Thank you. This petition pertains to the addition to and change in use of an existing building. The proposed building will be a 2-story office and storage building, occupancy groups B and S of type 1B, fire-resistant construction, approximately 12,810 square feet in total gross floor area, and is located at 7 Carey Place, Port Washington, Town of North Hempstead, Nassau County, New York. The petition has requested relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Section 503.2.1, which provides that fire apparatus access roads shall have an unobstructed width of not less than 20 feet, exclusive of shoulders, except for approved security gates, in accordance with Section 503.6, and an unobstructed vertical clearance of not less than 13 feet 6 inches. 19 NYCRR, Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Appendix D 105.4, which provides that overhead utility and power lines shall not be located over the aerial fire apparatus access road or between the aerial fire apparatus road and building. Other obstructions shall be permitted to be placed with the approval of the fire code official. The petitioner wishes to have a fire apparatus access road with clearance to an overhead power line temporarily allowed. And 19 NYCRR, Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Section 503.2.5, which provides that dead-end fire apparatus access roads in excess of 150 feet in length shall be provided with an approved area for turning around fire apparatus. The petitioner wishes to have a dead-end road that is approximately 360 feet long with a circular turnaround.
Without, right? Without,
Did I say without or
yeah,
with?
you said with.
Without a circular turnaround. Thank you. 19 NYCRR, Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Appendix D 103.2, which provides that fire apparatus access roads shall not exceed 10% in grade. The petitioner wishes that grades exceeding 10% be allowed. 19 NYCRR, Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Appendix D 105.2, which provides that aerial fire apparatus access roads shall have a minimum unobstructed width of 26 feet, exclusive of shoulders, in the immediate vicinity of the building or portion thereof. The petitioner wishes to have shoulders form part of the aerial fire apparatus access road width. And lastly, 19 NYCRR, Part 1225, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State's Appendix D 105.3, which provides that one or more of the required access routes meeting this condition shall be located not less than 15 feet and not greater than 30 feet from the building, and shall be positioned parallel to one entire side of the building. The side of the building on which the aerial fire apparatus access road is positioned shall be approved by the fire code official. The petitioner proposes to provide a fire lane parallel to the south side of the building that is approximately 20 feet wide. Okay, gentlemen, please state your name and your address and tell us what's going on.
I'm Donald Sclair, architect, at 20 South Washington Street in Port Washington, New York.
And I'm Kyriakos Lazaridis, Carey Place LLC member, 7 Carey Place, Port Washington, New York.
Thank you. Okay, tell us what's going on.
All right, we had constructed a second floor addition to an existing industrial building and made all the filings with the Town of North Hempstead Building Department, which also required filings with the County Fire Marshal's Office, which we had made in good faith. We had a variance hearing early in the project for yards and parking issues, which passed and was granted a variance by the town. We had designed the building to be a fireproof structure with full fire safeguards, including sprinkler systems, fire alarms. We added, at the request or insistence of the Fire Marshal's Office, a new standpipe in the stairwell, and we had all the inspections done of the sprinkler and fire alarm layout, and made all the necessary adjustments that the Fire Marshal's Office requested. The building is, overall height is 36 feet or 37 feet, which is greater than the 30 feet listed in the Fire Marshal's regulations. But the second floor openings are at 20 feet above the grade level and 6 feet in height, so that the access from the main driveway in front of the building, which is a continuous area, is readily accessible to firefighting apparatus. And on the back side of the building, or the side yard, the building is now 1 story high and can be accessed from Carey Street, although the driveway doesn't go parallel to the rear side of the building. So we have general access that way. The roadway up from Valley Road up to Carey Place is greater than 26 feet in that it's got asphalt and concrete surface of a continuous nature exceeding 30 feet in width. And it's a pre-existing road that had serviced the existing industrial building that we worked with. And it has, in general, it's got a slope less than 10%, and then it's got a couple of small elevated rises that are readily negotiable by vehicle, as we've done it up and down many times. The fire apparatus, if the large vehicle is brought in, it's true it does not have the full circular turnaround at the top, but we do have a backup turnaround space right at the edge of the building where an apparatus can be backed into U-turn and drive back down the main road after the fire incident was completed. And we've also had fire apparatus back down the property. There are power lines that run parallel with the road up to the building, but they're not obstructing the roadway. There is currently at the fire marshal's office issued a do not occupy order. And so there was a temporary office trailer built up in the yard, and there are power lines that cross the driveway that go to the trailer at the moment, but those would be removed if we're granted the variance and we can remove the trailer. So we would not have any obstructions to the driveway or the firefighting yard. We're asking for a variance for all of the various issues that had been raised. And I think we're prepared to answer any questions. We've tried to work as diligently as possible with both the building department and the fire marshal's office, and we apologize for any issues that might have been missed in the application process, but everything seemed to go smoothly as we were granted permits and sign-offs. And we're now waiting for, if we can get through this variance application, of final sign-off on the fire alarm system, and we've had to get the C of O for the building.
You guys are in quite a pickle here. You know, the building's done, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I have 500 questions. I'm going to defer to my fire officials first. Do you want to ask about how we came about to this point? Okay.
So what year did the town issue the building permit?
It was 2022.
Did you go for any local zoning variances at that time?
We had prior to that issue, we had a variance application that we reviewed, that we submitted to the Board of Zoning Appeals. And it was for, the property was too close to a lot line on the side yard, and I think it was the front yard. And we had some parking questions. We presented our case to the zoning board and we were granted the variance.
Okay, did you file, during that process, parallel path of the building department, did anybody on your team file the Nassau County Fire Marshal site review application prior to the variance?
We filed the required sprinkler and fire alarm applications to the fire marshal's office. And that was what was required of us to move the project forward. So that's what we did.
That was post permit though, correct? You got a building permit?
No, that was a requirement just to have the application considered by the building department. We had to make the filings to the fire marshal.
They made you do it pre-permit, okay.
Could you just detail that a little more? Because the process at the town of North Hempstead is that you can sign a document stating you're going to file with the Nassau County Fire Marshal's office and go through the process of the entitlement. And then before a permit's released by the building department, you have to have an application filed for the sprinkler and fire alarm. But my question goes to the requirement in the Nassau County Fire Prevention Ordinance, which requires a site review application to be filed to see if to see their requirements in reference to fire apparatus and the fire code. So were you aware of that?
No, I was not.
Okay. So was a certificate of occupancy issued by the town yet?
No, that's
That's why they have
pending
a
the
trailer.
final sign off on the fire alarm system.
What type of use is this building? Like, what are you doing inside of it besides office space and warehouse? What is it? Is it any manufacturing?
That's it. No, it had formerly been an aircraft parts manufacturing building, but this is now just construction materials on the ground floor and office space for the owner on the second floor.
Okay. When did either the code official from the town or the marshal's office become aware that this was an issue?
I think it was, well, I'm not sure. Kirk, we had been through all the construction inspections required. We had been through inspections on the sprinkler installation, on the fire alarm installation, and it was only at the end of the project that I'm aware that we were told there was an issue with the site plan and the large apparatus use for the project, since the building was in excess of 30 feet in height.
And how did that come up?
I believe the fire marshal came, he's been there several times, Fire Marshal Hopelman. And we were moving the process along, doing sprinkler inspections, fire alarm inspections. And at some point, we signed off the sprinkler. The sprinkler is signed off. And I guess he mentioned about a site plan, so I let Don know. And at that time, we submitted the site plan. And that's where we, I guess, are right now.
Yeah.
And are there any code officials or from either the town or the marshal's office on this virtual call?
We notified Mr. Canzaneri Jr. He said he did not feel he needed to participate.
I guess my question is, how did they issue a building permit if it wasn't compliant with the building code?
It's the fire code.
Mr. Bravone.
I mean, the fire code.
Mr. Bravone, I see a James Hopelman on the call. I don't know if he's there.
And you also have Nicholas Corrado representing the fire code official and Port Washington FD.
Okay, and they're on this WebEx right now. If you guys want to speak on this matter, that'd be great. Now's the time. Maybe they're out to lunch.
Did you meet with the local fire department at all after this was brought up? Was the local
Hello,
fire
can you hear me?
department- Yes.
Yeah, who's speaking?
Lieutenant Corrado, Nassau County Fire Marshal's Office.
Thanks for joining us. Would you like to participate today, Mr. Corrado?
Yes. Just to, so that it's part of the record, to clarify what was brought up before, none of the requirements were requests of the Fire Marshal's Office. They were all meeting the minimum requirement of the Nassau County Fire Prevention Ordinance and the Fire Code of New York State. So I just want that to be clarified. Nothing was a request from us. So to answer the question as to when we received site plans for this project, site plans were not received until March 27th of 2024. By that time, the building was already built. To clarify about what part of the variances that are being sought, obviously the grade increase is above. There's nothing that could be done about that. But the turnaround, even the alternative of backing into another parking lot is not an option. A tower ladder cannot make that turnaround. The reason that we listed our objections on the questionnaire was both from code research on our part and at the request of the Port Washington Fire Department, who adamantly did not support the variance being sought. I'll answer any other questions if anyone has regarding the individual line-by-line items that are being sought a variance to, but I guess I'll leave that to you guys for questions.
Was there any collaboration to try and come up with an alternative approach to address these deficiencies?
No, it was specifically brought up to Port Washington with that question. Is there any alternative design that could possibly make this where it would not be objectionable to the fire department? And the chief of the fire department plainly stated that there is no alternative design possible that they would support a variance.
Okay. So where do we go from here?
How did they get this far?
Is that a question for the fire marshal's office? Or?
Yes, with respect, I guess we just, my concern is, and again, things happen, but how did they get this far in construction and an approval on a sprinkler system, and then all of a sudden now there's an issue where they invested the money into building, they have a building permit. I guess it's a valid question. How did they get this
It's been
far?
inspected and signed off, and now it's a problem.
Yeah, I will not speak for the town of North Hempstead. The sprinkler none of the systems have been tested. They submitted plans, and we're told site plans are going to be required, and site plans were one of the last things that came in. And the building, as it was originally constructed, was pre-existing non-conforming. A building before the modification would not have been approved by the state code to have been built in the location at the elevation with that limited access. It would not have been approved at that time. So with the addition, it was certainly objectionable to begin with, because the 36 feet tall is out of, just to clarify, is the reason why it's listed that way is typically the tallest ground ladder that a piece of fire apparatus would carry would be a 35-foot ground ladder. Obviously, I know Mr. Pavone is aware of this from other life experience, but typically you would need a couple feet just to get even the highest pitch of a ground ladder. You're not going to be able to get to the roof probably with anything that's above 29-ish feet, which is kind of where they come up with that 30 foot. So the aerial is the only way that they would be able to get access to the roof of the building. The aerial being the permanently affixed piece of laddering device that's at the top of a tower ladder or an aerial ladder. They would need to get in a position to get somebody to the roof without having to go through the building that could potentially be on fire. Carey Street, even if you just look at a satellite view, you could see the Carey Street. It would be obstructed by trees. To even use that as a possible alternative to get to the northwest corner of the roof. So that is kind of out of play. And, like I said, they can't make the turnaround, but my personal opinion is not going to match the code. I've always been of the personal opinion that turnaround is after the fire is out. The problem is, if we need to back somebody out and it's whatever, it may be a little bit tricky or dangerous or whatever, that's much less of a concern to me as to getting the piece of fire apparatus and personnel to the site where the emergency is happening, because that's the here and now that we need to take care of. That's what was brought to Chief Matt Karen of Port Washington Fire Department, and also his fire prevention officer, Chief Watterson, and it was kind of a collaborative back and forth of what if anything could be done to make this where it's amenable to the fire department, that they would feel like, well, we could fight this fire if we had to. And that was where they came up with there is no alternative design. It's just a plain objection. and that's why we listed in there. We had quite a few items, I think some of the things that aren't even being sought by the variance, but things that we found in our questionnaire that we sent back that were additional parts of either 503 or Appendix D that this does not meet. So as far as where we got to that point, I don't know why the building had taken place, and again, that would be up to the, owner architect to submit to the proper filings, and sometimes mistakes happen, but this was just built. So it's a change of use, it's a change of occupancy. In addition to the adding the second story to the building, it's above where a ground ladder is going to get to, and Port Washington Fire Department says they can't realistically commit a piece of fire apparatus to that lane and effectively fight a fire there. That their concern would basically be at that point is hoping everybody's out and protecting exposures, and we're just hoping people were able to get out of the building by the time they get something up there.
So I'm not a fire guy, and we have 2 fire officials on the board. There's no other alternative like a yard hydrant or exterior stair ladder or putting a stair up to the roof. There's nothing else could be discussed creatively to have a comparable mitigating firefighting approach rather than putting in a ladder truck and turning around. You know what I mean? How long can you run a hose?
Yeah, that's not the issue. The issue is proper placement of a tower ladder or an aerial ladder to be able to stage properly, to be able to either get to the roof or get to a window. This plan can't achieve that.
The window's only 20 feet above ground.
It's the roof, getting access to the roof, that's the concern. It's just because we have access to a window doesn't mean that you still need to be able to provide access to the roof.
From the owners, have you explored anything with the ownership of Carey Street that's not in use, so it's not a drive-through? Anybody contacted the owner of that, meaning if it's the town, are they willing to give you part of that or sell it to you and regrade or create some type of an ingress for a fire apparatus? I'm just throwing this out there, just trying to figure out, is there a way that this could be repaired?
No, that it's a weird, I don't know if you were able to see it, or it's like a Carey Street. When you come down, it's like a dead end. It's like right now there's all like dirt and brushes that lead down. It slopes down dramatically to Carey Place. So there's nothing there right now except like dirt and trees and stuff like that.
You're saying it's a paper road?
Yes.
Okay.
But there's an ingress or a slight ingress right before the property driveway and before the other property, which has a driveway and parking area. And that's the part that I show on the site plan that an apparatus might be able to back into and then turn around and go forward from. And that area could be, I suspect, widened with the permission of the county or of the town.
I think the more concern is getting the apparatus to the building. And with that grade, I'm not exactly sure what Port Washington's length of their aerial is.
So I contacted the Port Washington Fire Department, and they did a test run with their large vehicle, and they took it all the way up. They couldn't go all the way in because right now I have that temporary power line feeding the trailer, but he was able to go all the way up, no problem, and they backed up, no problem.
Yeah, but according to the testimony from Lieutenant Corrado, he's saying that the fire department is objecting to this or against this being approved. So if they actually, from what I'm hearing, is they did some type of a test run, but again, the lieutenant's saying that they're against this application being approved.
Yeah, I mean, I just know that they did the test run.
You called them?
Yeah, I called them. I spoke to them. They did it. And that's what happened. Yeah, I'm sure Lieutenant Corrado is accurate in what he's saying, but I'm just want to let the board know that they did a test run. The large vehicle, their largest vehicle, was able to come up to the building without issue.
And the lot in front of the area, the firefighting area in front of the building is perfectly level. It runs the full length of the building.
Board members, there is an exception in the current fire code, in Appendix D, that says where approved by the fire code official, buildings of type 1A, type 1B, or 2A construction equipped throughout with an automatic sprinkler system in accordance with section 903.3.1.1 and having firefighter access through an enclosed stairway with a class 1 standpipe in conformance with NFPA 14 from the lowest level of fire department vehicle access to all roof surfaces would be exempt from requiring a fire apparatus access road. Now, the applicants say that their building is type 1B. Do you have any substantiation of that, that this building is actually a type 1B building?
Well, it's entirely steel and concrete.
Yeah,
That's non-combustible.
Non-combustible. That's
Non-combustible.
It's typically 3-hour rated construction for all the structural. I mean, we can get the table. It's a heavy lift usually to achieve 1. So, I mean, you look at your building section, which is Exhibit 2. It looks like you have, I mean, it's very small scale here, but it looks like you have a framed wall on the second level with concrete retaining wall in the back to address the grade, and then CMU on the first floor.
Yes, and concrete, non-combustible concrete siding on the second
You know,
floor.
it's an assembly rating. So typically all your exposed steel would add fireproofing on it to get the fire rating up. So it's a very good question. You achieve the type 1 to apply to this exception, and then the fire code official has to agree to it. To put a standpipe fire rated stair up to the roof.
And we do have we have a ladder to the roof.
Even when it's Lieutenant Corrado again, even when that was brought up to the Port Washington Fire Department, if that was able to be achieved where it would meet that exemption, what alternative design or what else could they do? And even floating out there to them, even if a remote fire department connection was buried all the way underneath the street and the town had agreed to it, to bring it down all the way to Valley Road, even something that would be possibly even cost prohibitive, just throwing it out there as an idea, the chief at Port Washington Fire Department said, no, that's not acceptable. So even if it's not that requirement, the fire department would object.
We also, they made us put a water pump, what's that called? Where the
hose access pump?
Yeah, hose access pump. We did it in conjunction with the Port Washington Water District. So that's right at the end of Carey Place. We had to put in as part of the site plan, I believe.
Oh, we hit some kind of.
We're at a roadblock.
I mean, the code just states as per the fire code official, We're in Suffolk County. You know, it's totally different. They collaborate, they come up with acceptable means. Right now, we're hearing that the local just doesn't want to accept anything.
We aside from the owner asking the local fire department for their consultation where they drove the apparatus up, we have not had any consultation with the fire department or the fire marshal's office on any possible aspects other than the things the fire marshal requested during the sprinkler review and the fire alarm review.
Again,
I
not requested,
put in-
they were minimum requirements that were, I know it's, I don't mean it to sound a petty thing, it's not, these aren't wants, this is meeting the absolute minimum standard required by code, so none of it was requests, because that would appear as if it was some sort of a leniency toward the code in exception of something else, and again, no alternative design was acceptable to the fire department. So there were no requests that were made. These were all, we insisted upon it. It's the minimum standard.
So I have a question. When they apply for fire sprinkler application and fire alarm application with the fire marshal, a site plan review or exemption is not required. Meaning, when they apply for the fire alarm system and fire sprinkler system, is there somewhere that tells them you must apply for a site plan prior to obtaining a fire sprinkler permit?
Yes. We will not test any system until they've submitted site plans to show that they meet the code. They can submit plans all they want, but we tell them with the submission, because it's the first we're aware that something was going on in that property. Because like I said, we were not forwarded any information or questionnaire or anything from the building department. The first we knew about this addition to the building was after it was made, and we had plans come into our office, and we tell the contractor, whether it's the licensed sprinkler contractor or fire alarm contractor, we need site plans. We cannot test any system because we don't know what you're going to put in there is going to be acceptable if the building's going to be acceptable. So
Yes,
that's something that
respectfully to the board and to the lieutenant, the fire marshal's office came out multiple times, saw the sprinkler system. We had approved sprinkler drawings. We have an approved sprinkler from the fire marshal's office. So, somewhere there was a disconnect or something happened. I'm not sure. We have an approved sprinkler system from the fire marshal's office. The fire alarm has been, I don't know what the right word is, tested. They've seen it multiple times. I've done all the corrections that were asked. I mean,
that was my question. When the lieutenant says systems will not be tested, what does that mean? They've already been installed.
They've been tested.
Right, they've been commissioned, and if you remember, the conversation, Kirk, that we had on the phone was that if you want, I will tell you, it was at his insistence to test the system, and I said, if I have somebody test that system, there's still no guarantee that that building will be permitted to still stand. I said, so even from the beginning, it was, you asked me multiple times on the phone, when Fire Marshal Hopelman was at your location, put it on speaker, and I told you that this is not, in our opinion, this is not a compliant building. If you want the system to be tested to see that it works, we'll have somebody up there and take a look at it. But I said that, I was very blunt about the fact that the building does not meet the requirement. You're going to need a variance from the state code. And again, whatever the decision is, we'll respect the decision. If a variance is granted, that's okay. We just want to be on record that the fire marshal's office objects, the fire department objects, and that we're, for that purpose, held harmless. So if something happens here, they're not able to effectively handle an emergency at the location in the opinion of the fire department. We don't determine whether the variance is granted, and we don't determine whether a CO is issued to the building. All we can say is that these are the systems that would be required if it meets the code, or if it doesn't meet the code but a variance is granted. And furthermore, the variance of being requested that really has nothing to do with us for temporary power to the trailer, that trailer is also still in violation because a fire alarm is required because that's now permanent structure, and that's been, stated also multiple times. I still have no fire alarm plans for that trailer. That's a permanent structure. It's there over 6 months. It either needs to come down or it needs a fire alarm system installed in it.
Lieutenant, if I may go back to, they did not obtain site plan approval from the fire marshal prior to obtaining the approval for what we have here, an exhibit, the approval of these plans for fire sprinkler. So that was not a requirement, right?
Which is I'm missing the
One
beginning.
at a time, please. One at a time. Go ahead.
Okay, what was the beginning part of that question?
The part, I'm asking, they obtained, I have here an exhibit where the fire marshal has stamped approved plans. And
That's for the fire alarm, correct?
yes,
Okay.
fire alarm. So they did not obtain approval or site plans from the fire marshal prior to issuance of this approval. How come they can obtain a fire alarm permit and a fire sprinkler permit prior to obtaining approval for site from the fire marshal?
If I can speak to that point a little bit, Fire Marshal James Hopelman, all apologies, board, and attendants. If to just clarify the point a little bit, what we were talking about with why site plans were not reviewed prior to the approval of fire alarm and sprinkler plans, it was due to the fact that we, the Fire Marshal's Office, were not aware as a whole that the building, the new building, that was information that was withheld from us prior to the arrival on site. We received the sprinkler plans from Mr. Lazaridis and Mr. Sklar. Macaron was the contractor of record. And on those plans, it said there was a level 3 alteration. And further research through the system and Google Earth kind of enlightened us that, yeah, in fact, it was a new building and they needed site plans. But it seems that information was withheld from us, required to be submitted to us as per the Nassau County Fire Prevention Ordinance and the Fire Code of New York State. But that information was withheld from us, which is why site plans weren't filed. It's still a requirement. Everyone has to do it for new buildings or for restoration to buildings. That material change the use or the function of the building. As was previously stated, this was a aircraft parts manufacturer. This has changed occupancy class usage from an F to an S with accessory B. So even if it wasn't an alteration, it would still require site plans because it was a change of use. I hope that clarifies.
So I understand that, and thank you. And one of the things we're going to
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chairman. Can the paperwork rustling is very noisy. It's very hard to hear.
I'm guilty.
Okay.
I won't let it happen again.
Okay.
Thanks, Lola.
So I understand what everybody's saying, and I respect all the comments. My concern is that the perception here, looking at the documents and the exhibits that we have in front of us, that clearly there was a disconnect somewhere. Without pointing fingers, I'm respectfully requesting that if all the sides, including the building department, could go back to the table to try to resolve this and come up with some solution, because if you go by just what we're looking at, something was submitted in September 29th of 2021 to the marshal's office. And again, with all the respect in the world, clearly, we all know that a fire site plan review is required. And the marshal's office takes the position many times that nothing gets issued until they have that, regardless of what level it is. So I'm asking, because of the magnitude of this issue, what can this group do? Like ownership, hiring a professional fire safety consultant, to an engineer to look at it to see if there's something they could come up with, the building department to come up with something, fire marshals plus the fire department locally, instead of having a denial. And now all of a sudden we have a second floor of a building that has to be removed.
If I may. So listen, I've from the beginning with the fire marshal's office, I've tried to be a gentleman throughout this process. I hope I have been. They've been helpful actually throughout this. So I'm open to anything to try to mitigate this and to move this forward. You know, we've been displaced now for a while. It's running my business from a trailer. You know, I have I have a lot of people that I employ and depend on me, and it's a very difficult situation. So I'm just really trying to move this forward the best I can. I am open to having a discussion or doing whatever we can to take the next steps.
This is Nick Corrado, Fire Marshal's Office again. I just want to clarify one last time that I didn't miss anybody come into the virtual room, so to speak. There's no one on the call from town of North Hempstead still, correct?
Not that we're aware of.
All right. I think that, again, not that we design systems, but what could be brought back to the Port Washington Fire Department would be, because it's not a conversation we've had, if the town of North Hempstead was able to remove the trees and open Carey Place to Carey Street and make it 1 through full, that's maybe a starting point of conversation, because that would give a pass-through. But that would be up to a design professional to propose that to us, and they'd need to be amenable to that, because that would probably alleviate a lot of these issues.
Thank you
For
for
bringing it up, I was going to mention that because it shows elevation 61 at Carey Place and elevation 77 at the back of the building, 76, 77. That's a big drop. But if that was continuous through, it helps
Might
out
work.
a multitude of
Right.
sins. Yeah, if it could work. There'd probably still be some variances, but there might be a path.
But maybe not. Maybe not objectionable ones.
I don't believe that belongs to the town of North Hempstead, though, meaning that might be like a Department of Transportation. I have a feeling.
I thought it might have been highways.
Highways, maybe Highways
But
Department.
North Hempstead.
Well, highways under the town, DOT is state.
So I still, will say it again, I think you're gonna have to put together something to have other professionals help you, from engineers to attorneys that would be able to communicate with the town, sit down and figure out where this went down the wrong path and try to fix it by all sides working together before we make a decision, because just punting to the state of New York on something as serious as this, from its face value, would be, in my position only, a denial.
Yeah, the fire code really, it incentivizes collaboration with the local fire department and the local code official. And it doesn't appear that happens. So I think, you might need to hire somebody as a specialist in fire protection, make a good proposal to the local jurisdiction, the fire marshal, the fire department in town, and come up with some creative solutions to address their concerns fighting a fire and life safety. And then you can continue that dialogue, and then they'll hopefully help you get there to maybe there's 1 or 2 variances, and you can come back to us.
That
So
sounds.
what Mr. Pavone has just cited, and I sort of concur as the chairman, that this is a very big lift for this board to just blanketly grant variances for all of these requests.
Okay, so, so do we go back to the table with the fire marshal and maybe the local fire department? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, so it would either be a denial or, excuse me, or an adjournment.
You could, I think you need to request an adjournment. That's my recommendation. And then schedule a meeting, getting probably an attorney that knows how to interact with the town of North Hempstead, elected officials in regards to the actual who owns the paper street, and how you might be able to secure some type of a grant to work and clean it up and make it accessible, whether it be some type of a contract, a yearly contract, or where you're purchasing it, and then meeting with the Nassau County Fire Marshal's Office, working with them, and also the Port Washington Fire Department, and come back to us. If it's minimal variances, we're willing to listen to them, and we want to help you. We're here to do that. But fire safety is paramount. It's, if it doesn't meet certain levels of safety, it would, with the objections that you have from the professionals that are on this call, would be very difficult.
Okay, so I guess then we'll ask for an adjournment. I'll contact and get with Fire Marshal Hopelman and Lieutenant Corrado and come up with the game plan. Does that sound fair?
Fire Marshal's office has no objection to an adjournment, and maybe we could put something together with the town of North Hempstead and, see if there's any way that we could get to a point that's, palatable to the variance board.
Thank you, gentlemen. So
Thank you.
with that being said,
I'll make the motion.
I can't make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to adjournment. Can I get a second?
Erica, second.
Erica, second. All in favor to adjourn. You guys got your directive, right? I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
You got your directive. You know what you need to do. Looking forward to what you have coming back.
That will be issued in a written opinion?
No, it's just an adjournment. So at this point, we're not issuing any
Oh, the
documents.
question for us. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And therefore, it would just be an adjournment that you would start to communicate with the other agencies, and you could communicate to Mr. Nation here, tell us what you're doing. At this point, we're on hold.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Think you leave
Yeah,
this
the
next.
chairman can't.
Yeah, so we're going.
Yeah, the next matter is 0635. Mr. Lee, if you could just give us 2 minutes, we'll be right back. We got to discuss something.
Yes.
I was not here, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We're going to read this into the record again, and then we'll see what's going on. Okay, on the record. This is the third hearing, is in the matter of petition number 2024-0635. The petitioner is R. Elliott Lee. This is a holdover from the February hearing. This petition pertains to an alteration of space in the basement of one-story detached one-family dwelling of wood frame construction, approximately 1,000 square feet in gross floor area, inclusive of basement space. The dwelling is located at 64 Cliff Way, Bating Hollow, Town of Riverhead, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner has requested relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R311.7.11, provided as follows. Alternating tread device shall not be used as an element of a means of egress. Alternating tread devices shall be permitted, provided that a required means of egress stairway or ramp serves the same space at an adjoining level, or where a means of egress is not required. The clear width at and below the handrail shall be not less than 20 inches. And 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R311.7.11.1, which states alternating tread devices shall have a tread depth of not less than 5 inches, a projected tread of not less than 8.5 inches, a tread width of not more than 7 inches, and a riser height of not more than 9.5 inches. The tread depth shall be measured horizontally between the vertical planes of the foremost projections of adjacent treads. The riser height shall be measured vertically between the leading edges of adjacent treads. The riser height and tread depth provided shall result in an angle of ascent from the horizontal of between 50 and 70 degrees. The initial tread of the device shall begin at the same elevation as the platform, landing, or floor surface. The petitioner requests having an alternating tread device allowed as a primary means of egress in the basement. Okay. What's going on?
So, would it be helpful if I read my summary just from the initial application?
Sure.
Just since you weren't here last time? Okay.
Sure, that's fine.
I can share as well, just so you have it on the screen. I don't know if you can see, if it's big enough for you to see. Screen. Entire screen. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll start here. The alternating tread device in question was built as a convenience stair to connect the basement, 325 square feet, and the first floor, 425 square feet. This stair type was chosen because of its small footprint in order to minimize the impact on both levels. The new stair replaced an old spiral stair that my wife and I found very uncomfortable to use due to its shallow tread depth. From a code perspective, my rationale for proceeding with the alternating tread stair stemmed from R311.4, which reads vertical egress from habitable levels, including habitable attics and basements that are not provided with an egress door in accordance with section R311.2 shall be by a stairway in accordance with section R311.7. At the time, my reading of R311.4 was this: if the basement is provided with an egress door, which it is, then a stair between the first floor and the basement is not required. And if a stair is provided, that it does not need to be in accordance with R311.7. However, at final inspection, the chief building inspector indicated that if a stair to the basement is provided, even if not required, it must be in accordance with R311.7. Since I don't have an option to do a straight run or a switchback, which I'll explain later, an alternating tread stair would need to meet R311.7.11 and R311.7.11.1. The installed stair meets all but two of the requirements in the aforementioned sections of the code. I am respectfully seeking relief on the two items. From these two items, the first is from R311.7.11, which states alternating tread devices shall be permitted, provided that a required means of egress stairway or ramp serves the same space at each adjoining level. The second is from R311.7.11.1, which is silent on the issue of an intermediate landing in an alternating tread device. Regarding the first relief request, adding another stair between the first floor and the basement would render both levels virtually unusable since the two floors are so small. In addition, this requirement seems to be in conflict with R311.4, which states that a stair is not even required. I believe that it is a hardship to be required to provide a second stair when it is allowable not to have a stair at all. Regarding the second relief request, the installed alternating tread device has an intermediate landing, which my wife and I find very comfortable to use, and the landing is essential in allowing us to achieve proper head clearance given the constraints of the existing structural opening in the floor plate. So at the previous hearing, it was made clear to me that the alternating tread stair, which is here as an image, here's a plan of it, that although an alternating tread stair might be allowed by code, that a firefighter would, because it's an unfamiliar vertical device, it'd be dangerous. It'd be basically a fall hazard. So it was asked of me to look at, basically other stair options, or come up with another scenario that might be acceptable. So what I've done is, would you like me to go through my sort of studies of different stair locations first, or would you like to see what I'm proposing here as the solution first?
I'm okay with understanding what's going on. So if the other board members, you want to just explain the proposal?
Sure.
Yeah, you just explain the proposal, that's fine.
Okay, so first off, I'm proposing to put a lockable gate at the top of the stair, which with a sign that says that this is not an exit. And then the second is to add signage at the entry gate to the upper terrace, which is essentially the way you would get into the house or guest, there's an entry staircase in the site plan here. This is a landscape staircase leading up to a gate here. So I'm proposing to put a gate here, a sign here that says emergency access to the basement is through the west side yard gate. And that gate is over here. So maybe it's better to look at the site plan. So essentially there's our parking area here. That gate is here. And sorry, look at the plan over here. This is the west side of the gate, and you would go through that and access the basement through this egress door. So that's the proposal after I looked at 3 different stair options that really would be very difficult to put in.
So if emergency personnel came to, got a call and came to the property, can you just zoom in on that site plan and tell me where they would pull up and enter the building?
Yeah, let me try to. So
That's
the
Cliffway
roadway,
is the road?
the roadway is basically does that.
Okay.
So the fire truck most likely would, probably pull in here, go like this. And, they can either go into the basement door that way. Let me try a different color. Into the basement this way, or come up the stairs through the gate, which is unlocked, which is, doesn't have a lock on it. And into the first floor, there's a first floor door here or a first floor door here. And those are all 3 of those are legal egress doors.
So the lower level, what you're calling the basement, is
Yep.
more proximity to grade than the main floor.
Yeah,
Is that a correct statement?
They are both, this elevation here is at 113 and the first floor terrace is at 121. So you step 6 inches out of the basement onto 113 and you step 6 inches down onto the terrace to 121.
But the grade to approximate the access for fire personnel would be more amenable to go to that lower level door than to go to the main floor door. Is that a correct statement, or?
I mean,
You think they go up the steps
honestly,
to
I
the
think you
front
would
door?
go. I think you would go up the steps first because those steps are very prominent visually.
Okay. But the natural front of the design of the house is not facing the street, right?
No.
It's facing the property line? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that you go up these east stairs.
As the new guy here, I understand what's going on. There's 2 fire officials on the board. If it's not a required means of egress, I'm going to defer to the fire officials on the rescue component of getting people out. So you guys feel okay with signage, or you want and a locked door, or do you feel you need a little bit more, or please weigh in.
As I said, so on Long Island, we're taught you go straight to the front door. Like if there's a fire in the building, you go straight to the front door and then you fight the fire that way. If there's a gate coming up with fire coming up from the basement, it is, we might look for additional access, but the thing is to go front through and push out. So that's where if there's a fire in the basement, it'd be coming up that hallway into that hallway, and I'd be going through there to push it down to get out.
So you're concerned if there's heavy laden smoke and you
Yes.
open up that door
Yep.
and you're strange to the environment, that you're going to fall down
down the stairs.
Fall down the stairs, or
Yes, if that's the method. So, right, so you're saying that the front door is a more prominent place that people would be coming in as, if
Right,
I'm looking at I'm sorry, yes. So,
Sure,
and unfortunately, I can't get a
Yeah, that's
street
okay.
view.
So if visibility is limited and you go
Yeah.
to that door and you open it, or if you're on your knees, right?
Yep.
and
Yeah,
so
you
open the
don't,
door.
yeah.
I'm
You're
sorry. So
saying that the front door is a more prominent way of accessing that building.
right. So you come up the landscapes entry steps there. There'll be a sign set that says if you need to go to the basement, you would go back down the steps into the side yard, or you go through the gate, and this is the front door. I mean, we actually accept guests through that door, but it doesn't matter. I mean, either one, you go into the first floor, and I guess what I'm saying is that I'm proposing to put a locked gate here, so that no one would trip down or fall down those stairs. And then it says this is not an exit.
But I assume, as a firefighter, I assume that a lot of basements don't have exits, right? Like there's only one way into the basement. So if that's where I'm going into the basement, that's where I'm assuming. And I have to be honest with you, I wouldn't look for a sign unless I knew to look for that sign, right? Like, because I'm looking at the structure, I'm looking what's on fire.
But if you come to this, if you came to this gate and I said this is not an exit, and then said basement access is through, is through the front yard, essentially.
Right,
That'd
but what's
be
gonna
fine.
happen is the first firefighter going up to the gate is gonna take the Halligan and he's gonna break the gate open to get into the house, because first reaction is somebody is lying down inside that dwelling and they need rescue. That's where the mindset of any first responder is, to get into the building as fast as possible to help somebody in need. And
Go ahead.
And the issue, knowing this process as well as both of us do, it's volunteer fire departments on Long Island. So if if the main first responding department is actually at another incident, then you might get a mutual aid department to come in, and communications may be missed, even if the dispatcher were to say there's articulating stairs and there's an oddity, be careful. There's no real means, like in New York City, all of the fire dispatchers and all of the firefighters have communications, and they created a system of communicating back and forth on the radio. It's much different out here. Although they do have radios, it's not as easy as it is in a city. So the problem that we're having with this is that
signage wouldn't be acceptable. Is not.
I don't know. I think if we talk it out, like if you report to an emergency and you pull up, if down at the grade, when you get up out of the truck, there's a sign that says basement, entrance.
I'm not looking at that.
And there's no way to notice the local is to say, here, this is what's going on at this property.
You can tell the local fire department. It's the fact that we don't communicate to our neighboring fire departments.
I understand.
It's just the way that this structure is built. I don't talk to Stony Brook. I don't talk to Port Jeff. It's just, that's just the way our fire department, the fire departments.
Norman, you're not as familiar with the buildings that are not in your jurisdiction. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, our neighboring district doesn't even have the same threads as a hydrant as we do. So we have to check to see what type of hydrant is there before we even address the hydrant.
So this is not an egress issue, it's more of a rescue.
It's more of a rescue.
So what can we do to help this gentleman,
Does he have, do you have pictures of the front of the house? Like when the fire truck pulls up, what do they see? Do you have pictures of the stairs, of the landscaping, of the basement?
I do, but it's going to take me a while, like a few minutes to get it. I don't have it on my computer. And I had to search through my thousands of photos to find it. Give me a second.
How about a fire pole, Mr. Lee? You have any kids? They love that stuff. Slide right down.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and they're old enough to be able to handle it too. Now they're 18. Let's see.
I feel really bad, but I just know.
Well, it's
the
all
behavior.
about fire and life safety. I get
Yes.
it.
I mean, what if this was, I made some sort of basically a hatch door that, closed the stair opening, so you wouldn't even know it was there.
So we are trained to open every door to check for life behind each door. Right? So we're trained, if you find a door, because remember, we're in an area that's damp and darkened, smoke is down. We feel a door, we're going to open that door, check, and say, oh, there's an opening, there could be people in here, let's get into that door to check into that area to check for people being there. Because unfortunately, we don't know that you don't have young children there, and young children could be running and hiding in the safest spot that they know. So a lot of kids do hide in the closets. So we're told, check in the closets, make sure they're not hiding among the stuffed animals. Like that, those are things that we trained to do.
But wouldn't you, you wouldn't know to go, I mean, there is a door in the front facade at the basement level. You know, that is one of the doors that could be checked, and that I'm not talking about getting rid of. Hang on a second, I'm trying to do two things at once here, I can't.
So it's just to get really granular, it's a visibility smoke thing.
Yes.
And then there would be a danger to the fire person to navigate those
stairs.
unique steps.
Yes.
What if there was like a smoke vent in the sidewall? So if smoke buildup, fire alarm goes, fire detection device goes off and the fan goes on and it purges all the smoke. Unless it's like fully involved, but.
But if the smoke is coming from, because there's a level above that level, right? There's a second floor. So if you have fire in the second floor and you're searching, that vent won't protect.
If you have fire on the second floor, you will not have smoke issue in the basement. The fire is on the second floor, the smoke rises.
But that's not the issue.
That's not the issue.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say here is this. There is no way as a fireman that you can roll in, you have a turnaround as soon as you park your truck. You're not gonna see the sign. If the sign says back, you go to the sign. There is no way you're not gonna see it. Now, it's a little difficult when you look at some things and sometimes you say, well, you know, as a firefighter, you just go head on. They say firefighter, your safety first you have to be safe before you rescue someone. So you're walking into a place and you see the sign that says only entry to the basement, to the
So let me
side.
just say-
Go to the side.
Let me say something. Signs, they're only really helpful if they're maintained properly.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to be a long-term solution to a concern. I think it could get overgrown. It could be, weathered. It's something that if you're depending solely on a sign and it's not maintained properly or the next buyer doesn't know about this.
What I'm saying here is this. We're told whatever it says, no entry, there is no entry. It could be electricity in there, no entry.
I would still,
But what I'm saying, I'm just saying something here. If the door, like the man has provided a locked door, and on that door it says no entry, it's a locked door. There can be no kids going in there. The door is not open for the kids to go in there. There is no way you can go in there. Plus, there's a sign that says outside the gate, entry into the basement to the side. You're safer opening.
Who's locking the door, CJ?
Say what?
You're trying to control behavior with a lock.
Who's gonna lock?
It's very difficult. But I get your argument, but you gotta understand,
I do understand, and I'm looking at the way we see it too. In spite of the fact that this is Long Island and this is New York City, it's the same training, it's all about safety. No fireman is supposed to.
No, but communication is important. So I know post 9/11, they advanced their communication, so they all.
Yeah, but
they don't have that
on
one now.
those things. What I'm saying is you're going to a particular building, they give you the data of that building. Somebody is in that building that will direct, that's why they have fire safety directors for buildings in the city and other places where you're not familiar with the building. So if you're coming into the building, the gate opens and you see entry into the basement on the side. If the fire is upstairs, the smoke travels up.
No, I personally
can get it.
Bear with me. So in the city of New York, every week, there are fire companies going out to do training. And when the firefighters get there from that company, they send in a report to the dispatcher through the city. It says there's an unusual occurrence in a certain area or building or whatever it may be. That goes on the computer assisted dispatch system. When the run comes in, even if it's somebody from Staten Island, it'll say exactly what's going on in that building so that the first responders getting there, even if they have to go from Staten Island to Brooklyn, know what it is. There's a total different communication system. As a fire dispatcher here in Long Island, which I was one, it's a much different system because there's 110 municipalities and the frequencies that they use. And again, that they may not be on the same frequency, and the dispatcher will just say you're responding to a fire in a different locale as mutual aid. So the concern that we have is that if somebody would walk in this building and it was involved with a fire, that they could be crawling in and all of a sudden go over to that stairway, start to push down and not realize it's a different configuration than what normally is used by every other person walking up and down the stairs. And they would be potentially hurt because there's no way with a backpack that you're gonna be able to survive a roll and fall and something like that.
Okay, I understand what you're trying to tell me. What I'm trying to say is this, I'm a staff member, we've responded to emergencies like
Right.
that. Now, the reason why I asked that, I said, where would the fire be? If the fire is upstairs, the basement is clear. Let's say the fire is in the roots, the basement, right? You respond in there. There's always, you cannot just, like a few times that we were out there, I can tell you 3 times, you just cannot open any door and dive in when there's smoke-filled space. You just can't. You have to understand exactly where you're going.
But if there's a report of somebody in a house,
Yeah.
We're
the
checking.
first responders are gonna get in there as quick as possible,
I
and
know,
whatever they
but how
can.
would they get it?
And yes, they're trained, they're highly trained.
I know, but how would they get it? That's the question we're
You're
asking.
gonna force entry into it from all different places, even if it's going through a window.
Or through a wall. So
Correct.
we know that we can't get in there because there's fire there. If we can breach the wall, we'll breach the wall to get in there.
But there's a sign that shows you that the door is on the left side while you're breaching the wall. You make it easy. If you're going in there in the fire, the sign says clearly on the wall, entry to the basement on the side, shows you. Why are you gonna break the door when you can walk in if you wanna like really rescue someone? You don't want the bricks to fall on. You're gonna go down there and get it. What I'm telling you is not just me.
No, I think conceptually the sign could work, but then I don't know if.
This is, I'm not just saying something I'm doing. This is what I do. This is what I did for a very long time, almost 18 years. So I'm looking at it, I'm saying, if the man put a sign, the first thing they tell you, you have to be very observant. You park the car, you look, there's a sign, read it first. That sign says downstairs is an ocean. You're not gonna go in there.
Thank God. Are you related to Mr. Lee?
Huh?
Are you related to Mr. Lee?
Who's Mr. Lee?
I'm joking.
Oh, Mr. Lee.
Yeah, you're being a strong, very strong advocate. Yeah,
So-
it's okay. I get it.
But the way the code, in my opinion, reads is the fact that these types of stairs for full lofts or areas of confined space, you're going up. So you have to go up that stairs to get to an area. You already know that you're going up an odd set of stairs that you might not be used to. In this specific case, you're not gonna know that's there, and you may be going down and you're falling down. And again, I'm just trying to.
So just hear me out a second. Can you go, Mr. Lee, go back to that photo? When you pull up to the property, there's a block wall there. There's a wall. You either go right up the steps, landscape
Yeah,
steps on the right,
Right.
or to the left of that car, there's an
Yeah,
opening to
there's a
go to
gate.
the basement.
And I'll add that when you go up these stairs, you can see down into this yard and you see the window. and the
Does
door.
this photo help you, Eric?
I can tell you, if I bring my fire truck in there, in that, with the way that that's maintained, I would not see a sign.
So right on the wall, if there was a reflective sign that
That was
said
not- that
fire
would not-
rescue basement.
I would not see that. I would not see that sign.
All right, forget
This
this.
isn't the best photo because you actually have to turn into this. Do you see my cursor?
Yes.
You have to turn into this this turnout here, and then you have a clear shot of this whole gate.
And then
I just
what
don't have
would
a photo of that.
What would happen is my apparatus would be alongside of that wall, right? So then when I get out, what am I doing? I'm walking in the front of the apparatus up the stairs. I'm not looking at that wall.
So this is not helpful to you to discern that you can access what do you call it, walkout basements?
Yes, no, if I saw that house on fire, my first attempt would be that I would pull in, I would go up the stairs and go in the front door. That is exactly where my training has brought me to. Yes, I would have somebody doing a 360, but
Right.
if you see the place on fire, like.
I mean, we have unique properties
show
all
you
over the
the-
place. If there was,
Okay, so when
Go
you're
ahead, Mr.
halfway up these stairs, you see this big, and the fire truck is here.
Yes.
You can see that basement door visually. The truck is not blocking your view of the.
And
could you, I'm sorry, can you create a gate in that wall that's in line with the door to the lower level? So it sort of like present
You mean
itself as an entrance?
Right here? Right here?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I don't know,
should
where
change
like
this.
somebody pulls up, it's like, it's clear that this is the shortest way to get into the building.
But as Rich had identified, if I am on that level and I'm assuming that and I know there's a basement, I know that I have stairs to get down to that basement, right? So.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's not required by code to have a basement. You can have a bill code door to a basement
Which is true.
without a stair. Yeah.
But if I
without a
see
stair.
windows, my train of thought is that there is access to that
All
basement.
right, so what would be some sort of buffer up here to try and figure out?
That basement is, those stairs are unsafe. And so whatever you guys decide is fine.
Okay. It's not better than a hole? Like if it was I don't know. If you took them out, what would you put there if you took them out?
I mean,
You couldn't put a steep stair in, right? That's also dangerous.
With sprinklers on the in the basement? Or-
Stop smoke.
Where's the utility equipment, the HVAC, what floor? Basement?
which there's a mechanical room here, but it's a boiler, laundry.
It's downstairs.
Right next to the
Great.
And there's the AC, the outdoor units right there. Yeah, it's the mechanical equipment basically here.
Okay. What about putting in?
I mean, could I put a gate at the top and the bottom of the door, of the stair?
Potable water system,
1 second, Mr. Lee. What's that?
13D system, like, potable water just heads off.
I thought visibility was the problem.
It is, but I'm just trying to come up with some type of a solution that
And then
hopefully come up with something that'll
I mean,
fire out.
I'm comfortable with the fact the building's very small.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't have an issue with it. If you were to do something additional to create a safer visibility identification of that stair is to get a smoke vent. It's essentially a shaft, right? It's connecting 2 floors. So consistent with the code, there's, I don't know, you have to do negative pressure or anything, but just a smoke vent.
Usually in the bathrooms, but you get more.
Well, I guess, I don't know, I'm not a fire protection engineer, but can you tie something to the smoke detectors that it triggers, it comes on and there's enough CFM to purge the area?
It's a small space.
What?
It's a small space.
It's a small space. Is it abutting a property line on the side of that house or is it?
I don't think that makes a difference.
No, it's,
Property line, it's just,
That's
you got
just-
what, he's purging smoke, he's purging smoke, that's it.
You have, so you have like, what, 10 feet to the property line?
I think it's less than that. Let's see. 8 feet, something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's a non-issue. And what's above that stair on the second floor?
This is a straight run stair.
What's above the alternating tread stair on the upper floor? The stair going up to the upper level? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
straight run stair, and that's the bedroom.
Gotcha.
So basically, in the previous version of when we purchased the house, this was the bedroom in the basement, and it was, we moved it up to the top floor, and now this is just storage in the basement.
Yeah, so a sidewall smoke vent or maybe going through the chase where the stair is to go up through the roof. I don't know. I'm not trying to design it for you, but.
Right. Okay.
Would that help
Is that
anybody?
okay with everyone? I mean,
We're just talking it out. I think you might have some thumbs down and thumbs up.
yeah.
There's 4 of us. So if you're amenable to that, we can talk it out in executive session, deliberate over it.
Reaching out to the local fire department and having them look at it and see if they have if they're okay with it. If they say, this is fine, we're okay with it, signage on the building, a computer assisted dispatch notification on any incident that would happen at that house, plus what he's already proposed today, we can, I think that might.
You got that, Mr. Lee?
Okay, so reach out to the local fire department.
Yeah, normally on
Show 'em
like
the
commercial
plans.
projects, what'll happen is we normally would, like anybody that's doing development would reach out to the local fire department when there's some issue and say, do you have an issue with this the way it is? They would then opine on it in writing and saying, we're okay with this, the fire department has no objection to it. That gives me the ability to say, okay, local fire department is okay with it. And including with one of the things I would recommend would be the signage, like you have, what you propose, plus a computer assist dispatch notification to the local fire department that you do have an oddity with stairs so that the first responding units would be notified when responding to that location.
Ladder type access.
Well, yeah, odd, and then, giving them photographs of it so that they can train their members on a Sunday, normally when they meet, or during the week when they have drill, that they could actually look at it and have a conversation about it. To me, that would make me happy.
Okay.
So
great.
what are we talking about? Are we talking about sending them away again and come back, or are we gonna do conditional approval?
Well, what happens if the fire department comes back and says they're
Says
not
no.
happy with it?
All right, so give me a motion.
So just a quick question. Just having heard that previous project where the local fire marshal basically didn't want to go out on a limb approving an unconventional situation because of liability.
That's Nassau County, Mr. Lee. It's
Okay.
different.
That's a different.
Different.
It's a different
Got
animal.
Different animal? Okay.
That's not apples to apples.
So
Okay,
you're
got it.
going directly to the local fire department, which
Yeah.
is a volunteer fire department. You would request to meet with the chief officers and the commissioners if they have commissioners.
Okay.
It might be a protection district, but you have to find that out. And then request is explained to them, and if they have to reach out to the staff here at the state just to have a conversation, we could further the conversation on our side, withdraw our staff, and then hopefully come back with some positive recommendation from them so that we can then set up some conditions and a grant.
Okay.
So
Does
I
that
make
sound
I make a motion to adjourn with the consultation with the local fire department.
I'll second it.
We got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Sorry, Mr. Lee.
you got
Okay.
some more homework.
All right. No problem.
You'll
Thank
get
you.
there. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
I told him that.
Robertson? Joseph Rettig, R-E-T-T-I-G. David Tchaikovsky, B-O-Z-U-H-O-S-K-I.
Okay, we good to go? All right, we're on the record. I think there was somebody on the WebEx. You want to just tell us who's on?
Yes, Francis Kramer, K-R-A-M-E-R. He is a registered architect with the New York State Education Department Facility Planning Division, is with us virtual.
Great.
Yes, here I am. Thanks for that intro.
Okay.
Thank you for being with us.
All right, here we go. Fourth and final hearing is in the matter of petition number 2025-0079. The petitioner is William Gary Robertson, RA, for West Islip Union Free School District. This petition pertains to the construction of an addition and alterations to an existing high school known as West Islip High School of an E occupancy, 2 stories in height, approximately 337,815 square feet in area, type 2B construction and located at 1 Lions Path, West Islip, Town of Islip, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Relief is being requested from 19 MYCRR Part 1227, the existing building code of New York State, the 2020 existing building code of New York State, section 1102.2, which states an addition shall not increase the area of an existing building beyond that permitted under the applicable provisions of Chapter 5 of the Building Code of New York State for buildings unless fire separation as required by the Building Code of New York State is provided. 19 MYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 506.2, which states the allowable area of a building shall be determined in accordance with the applicable provisions of Section 506.2.1 through 506.2.4 and Section 506.3. Okay, and then 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 707.6, which states in part, openings in a fire barrier wall shall be limited to an aggregate width of 25% of the length of the wall, and the maximum of any single opening shall not exceed 156 square feet. kind of rewrote this, CJ. The petitioner requests relief to allow an addition to 1, exceed the maximum area permitted by code, 2, expand the building without the code required fire separation, and 3, allow openings in a fire barrier wall exceeding the maximum aggregate length permitted by code. So there you go. Gentlemen, you stated your name, so you just hit the main points and we'll get on with the hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you. So again, we are expanding the existing West Islip High School pool, which is proper to the original building construction, by a little over 3,200 square feet. The building itself is a little over 330,000 square feet in size. We're doing that for 2 reasons. One, there's an existing 5-lane pool there currently. We're going to expand that to 6 lanes to allow them to host competitions. And also because of the age and condition of the pool, which is not in great shape.
So code would require a firewall to be built right down the middle of the pool where we would try to expand it. So that's really the main point of relief we're looking for. Is expanding the footprint, create that firewall, but we are proposing other measures to assist in fire resistance in the building.
Primarily with the inclusion or creation of a 2-hour fire barrier around the pool area proper. Existing construction almost brings us to 2-hour currently, but we do need to address some things like rated doors and improving some of the walls to make them 2-hour fire rated around the pool itself. I also wanted to mention that we've added an additional exterior egress to the pool, which makes the pool safer than it is currently.
So I come from 2-hour. Yes, as Sarah said, our proposition is to mitigate not having the 2-hour building separation by creating basically an envelope around the pool area proper that segregates that from the neighborhood building with a 2-hour fire barrier. As Gary mentioned, there are a couple of areas in it where we need to augment the walls and of course the doors, that could open. But by and large, there already exists construction that is conducive to creating this 2-hour separation.
Okay, so the existing high school is non-conforming to the fire area?
Correct.
For this type of construction? Do you know the magnitude of that non-conformity? Has that been, I'm curious. And then that non-conformity, you're expanding by 3,200 square feet?
On 2 floors, correct.
On 2 floors, but the fire area is per floor, so it's just it's a minor addition if you're looking at 337,000 square feet. But I'm curious on what the fire area would be for, did you do that analysis for the 2B building?
For the entire building?
For the entire high school? Are there firewalls within the high school that breaks up the areas?
There are some fire separations for subsequent additions that have been on in recent years, since the 90s. But all the majority of the footprint of the building is all pre-existing non-conforming.
Okay, so I don't know if I articulated that clearly, but are there walls within the high school that by code separate fire areas, or is the fire area 337,000 square feet?
There are some separations. We don't have that in a tabular form that could be easily presented, but it's something that could be.
Just talk, because I'd like to know the magnitude of the request that you're asking for. You're expanding a 337,000 square foot fire area, you're expanding a 54,000 square foot fire area, and implementing mitigating factors to.
The additions that are segregated from the original building are rather relatively minor, under 10,000 square feet each. In fact, in some under 2,000 square feet, library addition and whatnot, relatively inconsequential to the overall footprint of the building.
Okay.
I would say it's just a rough guess, probably in excess of 275,000 square feet of the existing building is one conjoined fire area.
Okay.
How old is the original building?
1957.
So is there a sprinkler system with a fire alarm?
No, sir.
Fire alarm, yes.
Fire alarm, yes.
Full fire alarm in the entire building?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's a 2-story, right? So what's above the pool?
There's actually nothing above the pool.
Okay.
It's really on a mezzanine level between the first, above the first floor.
The mechanical space.
So there's a basement level.
Okay.
The pool, that's the lower level, which is at grade. The pool is on above the first floor elevation, but I guess we're calling it.
It's separated from the main floors of the building because
It's
kind of like a
kind of,
split-
okay,
like a split level.
okay,
There's seating.
yeah.
There is, correct.
So you said you added an exit door
To the addition, correct.
to the addition. What's the minimum requirement for exiting out of that pool area? And then are you above that minimum?
Yes.
Can you just articulate how much?
The current exiting for that pool is 441, and I don't remember exactly how many exit units we provided.
There are 3.
So when you go over 300, you need 3, right?
5 doors at 180.
Right.
Yeah.
So just by pure occupancy, you need 3 minimum, right?
Correct.
And you guys have 5. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we've got 540 capacity, and we're exiting 441.
And so with the addition, I guess you're saying you're going down then, right, for the mechanical space, you're opening that up below, or is it?
No, it's remaining mechanical.
Okay, all right.
The mechanical is being expanded along with the pool.
Pool, okay.
Because that is the basement mechanical area for the pool. But it's not, there's no occupied area there.
That's being expanded also? I looked at the term, that one additional lanes causing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, like for one lane, yeah.
It's a space that's down there.
Yeah,
The existing mechanical.
And you're increasing some fire ratings of some assemblies. Do you have an exhibit for that? Is there a section through the building? I'm trying to pull it up on my computer, but.
Yeah, I know the drawings.
How did I get all these tags for? I guess they're lost in translation.
Yeah.
PDF?
See it with all the tags.
Right.
Yes.
You have your own set, so you're good.
Behind the.
Oh, right. Good point.
Thank you.
No, you're good.
All right, so on the top section, this is taken across the pool, and as you can see, it's through pool proper, part of the pool deck, the seating area that goes up and above the corridor in the existing building. This is a portion of the basement that's being expanded out with the pool. You can see where the original exterior wall line is. This is the addition here. This one longitudinally, also can see a little piece of the basement on either edge of the. It wraps around the pool. There's access to all 4 sides of it, just to get access to all the equipment, the drains, et cetera. All of the equipment that's in the basement area around the pool is for the pool. It's not a boiler room for the rest of the building or et cetera.
So the highlighted area indicates.
The 2-hour.
2-hour fire barrier. Going vertical and then horizontal?
Yes.
And then back up.
This is an existing 5 or 6 inch, I forget which, I think 5-inch concrete slab. There's an existing slab here of indeterminate depth. On the drawings that we have available to us, it looks like it's enough, but we're gonna fire story that out.
You're gonna try to achieve 2-hour on all this stuff?
All of it. This is one of the walls in the back that we're gonna be augmenting. The current wall is not 2 hours. We're adding another layer of CMU to that.
Okay. Any addition's gonna match the type of construction? It's gonna be 2B, non-combustible, you're not, okay.
Concrete block.
You're not upgrading the construction type for that portion out on the
It's all
pool side of the
It's
2-hour?
already 2B over there. so-
Okay. You're not spray proofing anything, you're doing 2A or upgrading. You're gonna be consistent with what the building is now. Can you just touch on the openings that was in the variance?
Right now, there are existing opening doors. There's a vision window between the coach's office on either side. I should say that this elevation is 100% mirrored on the other side of the pool. This is the new door to the outside, so these are the openings in question. It wasn't something that we were originally seeking, but in doing the research onto the what relief we would be needing, we came across the fact that, oh, we're looking about now, before it was an unrated wall with all these openings in it, now we're declaring a rated wall, and you're only supposed to have a certain amount. So What we're also seeking relief for is that we're slightly over with these all existing openings. They will be given the proper protectives, 90 minutes in most cases. We are in fact reducing this one door up top to a single door. It's a double 2.6, which didn't meet ADA anyway. So we're taking a little bit of that area away from it. And, we're waiving all of the openings on both sides, but they do slightly exceed the 26.
25%?
25%.
And what's your opening area?
We are now. So it's right there. Here it is. It was 32%. And I'm having trouble finding it.
So Courtney, just for clarification,
Yes.
Mr. Codeman, I know it's not your, I want to ask you, well, both you guys. Irrespective of the B 1.5 hour, 90-minute opening, you still can't exceed the 25%? Because they have opening protectives?
I'm not sure.
The code would still max out at 25% irrespective of their protecting the openings?
Yes, they're using a fire barrier wall.
Oh, I got
instead
you.
of
Gotcha.
Firewall.
Yep.
What's the difference between a fire wall and a fire barrier wall?
63. It's about collapse.
Okay.
Independent structural collapse.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
On one side of a firewall, the whole building is allowed
I don't know what it was before. Maybe it was 36.
and the firewall remains intact,
Okay,
so it wouldn't go
lower
across.
cross,
Right.
okay.
It's typically foundation to
Okay.
beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a concept is, so if it goes on fire and a portion of it collapses, the wall stays in place the 2 hour and the other side's protected. So
Okay,
otherwise, if you just had a non-structural fire separation wall,
After 2 hours.
it'll collapse,
yeah, and you
okay.
can't break up fire areas. Oh, we won't get too
Yeah.
granular.
The overall opening percentage will be 32% at the completion of the project.
And what is it currently?
I believe it's 36.
36?
I don't believe we've had that number written in the.
All right, I think I hit my questions.
I got mine answered.
Should we read the fire department letter or it's just an exhibit? Okay.
Can you show me where the 5 exits are?
Sure.
I couldn't, I found just.
Because of the split level nature of the space, it is a little tricky. Get the full size plans of the student. So on the main level, there's the one new one that we're adding. These two here, they go out to the stairwells. And as you go up the mezzanine to the upper level, there are 2 more at the top of the stairwells.
But those converge with the staircase,
Correct.
so it becomes one.
But as you come down,
If they-
yes,
If they converge.
right.
So there's 3 in my humble opinion, because they converge at the top, but it's okay, you don't need more than 3.
Okay.
But we cannot count them as 5.
Do we
Because
want?
They converge.
Yeah. Do you want to have your RA from the state to comment on that? Did he take that into account?
Do we?
No?
Can he hear
Yes?
us?
What's his name?
Francis. So Francis is new.
Yes, hello.
Yes, there's been a question about whether the two exits at the top of the mezzanine area count as separate exits.
Out of the mezzanine area, they would, but they converge to get out of the building, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do end up converging.
So to circle back with our question about how many exits out, I guess to legal open space, legal open grade, it would be
540. Is that right?
to accommodate for the
The
540.
total exit inches, total, yeah, egress capacity using those 5 floors is 504.
All right. I mean, it's great that he's here on board, so he's aware of our question, and we just make sure it meets the code. I was trying to identify how much above the minimum you are, because that's like an added benefit to help us grant the variance. So,
Total cost of the project as it's designed now,
13.8 million.
what would be the cost if you had to comply? Do you have that analysis at all?
I do not.
What method of compliance?
I was just saying that if you wanted 100% comply, you didn't want to come to the board, what would it be to the school district additionally?
Can I speak to what would have to happen?
That would be great.
Okay, I can't tell you an amount, but it would need to be complete demolition of the entire pool instead of expansion of it. And then construction of structurally independent firewalls on 3 sides, which would still need to be penetrated for the doorways to get to the locker rooms that exist and the coach's office that exists and the 2 stairwells that exist. And then we would have to build a completely new pool structure in there. So, we're doing a renovation and expansion right now at 13 million. To rebuild it in its entirety, just very substantially more.
I mean, it's a valid question because you cite on your appeal, it would be create an economic burden.
Correct.
So it'd be nice to know what that burden would be.
I'm gonna say that, we're adding a third, or we're adding a quarter, instead of rebuilding it, I might say it's 3 to 4 times the 13 million.
Understood, thank you very much.
Any other questions? No? All right, gentlemen, we're gonna go talk it out and we'll come back with a decision. If you don't mind stepping out, that'd be great.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Fran, for participating.
You're welcome.
The reviewing agency for State Aid Department endorses the approval of the variance, and we have the local West Isa Fire Department endorsing the application. So that being said, we're going to go off the record and we'll be back with a decision. Thank you. So if you could just walk us through the code compliant exits.
Well, you brought up the exterior stair first, so let's just take that out, that's easy. Off of the pool deck proper level, you have an egress of either side that goes to a stairwell, which has.
William, can you do me a favor and just like tilt it up and
Oh, yeah, sure.
the board could see what you're pointing at? Just. Yeah.
We have from the pool deck proper, an exit to either side into a shared stairwell. That stairwell comes up to a common corridor on both ends.
But you're going out the same door out to the exterior, right?
Right.
You're heading to your left, going out the same
Predominantly
exit.
going this way. There is another exit out this way, but the shorter distances to the north.
But you're converging the exits out and heading out to whatever that left side is.
Correct.
So can you go to the other direction out the grid? And what's that distance?
Yeah, there's a double egress door on the south side of that corridor that takes you out the building to the other end.
Is it double or is one swinging in the opposite direction?
It's a double action door.
Double
One in each
action.
direction, yes.
So I think we're going to put something in our decision that you're going to have to communicate with the guy at State Ed to make sure you comply with the exiting. Because you're going to have to show the distance of travel and the exit unit widths and because it's not shown on this drawing that you have code compliant 3 exits.
Yeah, we only see 2 to the public way. to the outside.
Right, on this plan, we only show you going to the south. We don't actually
Yeah.
show you going to the
You
north.
have your little tags
Yeah.
with your distance travel.
Right.
And you can really get into it about what's the rating of the enclosures, where is legal open space? Is it through outside the door? Are you extending the fire rating into the building? Or, how to get the distance traveled to the door you go out the grade. So right now, you're only showing 2 exits, in my opinion, and Laura picked that up. And it's a concern. So we want to make sure our language is crafted properly.
Just according to State Education Department and their manual planning standards, we would have to have one exit directly to another smoke zone, which counts as the exterior of the building, which is why we're putting that new exterior exit out that the pool never had before.
Yeah, so as far as the 2020 building code is concerned, you said you had 540 occupants?
441.
What was the 540 you said? I wrote it down.
Capacity of the doors.
Okay, so 441, you still need 3, and they need to be remote from each other, right? You're not sprinkled, so it's a third of the diagonal, which is tight. Third, non-sprinkler.
Non-sprinkler,
Yeah, half is sprinkler.
yeah.
So it might be a challenge for you guys. You got to look at it. I'm sorry?
It's the opposite, I think. Minimum distance is 1/3 if it's
Okay, yeah, because then they're further apart. Okay,
Very
gotcha.
confusing
But
to
of the
me.
3 exits, we have them 3 of the 4 corners of the room.
Yes,
Yeah.
once you exit from the staircase and the mezzanine, it is showing one means of egress to the public way. We need to make sure that the other option through the basketball court
No, yeah, to the hallway.
here, yes, exactly, is it adequate? What's the distance there?
And also, how many occupants on the mezzanine level?
And what's the conversions of all of these occupants?
So if you have over 50 on the mezzanine level and you need 2 exits out, you're going out and going back to 1 exit. You're converging to 1. That only qualifies as 1. So,
But if there were a smoke door in the corridor between those 2 stairwells, they would be in 2 separate smoke.
you'd have to go in 2 separate directions.
Yes, we still need to do
The
this.
smoke doors are compartmentalizing, but you still got to get to an exit to legal open space. You still be going to the same door.
Unless it's an
But they do
additional
have the
exit.
option to go directly to the exterior.
Yeah.
They can still come off of the mezzanine and they can go down directly to the exterior.
That's one exit out to the exterior.
Yeah, so the point is when you're converging and you're going out that one door to the, I don't know if it's south, to the left of the sheet, that only qualifies as 1 exit, not 2. You're using the 2 on the mezzanine level, but you're converging down and going out that 1 set of doors. That's 1 exit. So you said you can go the other direction, so they have to, when they come down the 1 stair, the 1 side, you have your exit signs that direct them to that exit, and on the other stair that comes out, you direct them to the other exit. Split them off.
I think the halfway point was like right here, which is why we decided to show them going the shorter distance. This is about the split of 50-50.
Right.
So it's another 20 feet.
But we don't indicate it, but yes, you can go northwards as well as south.
So in the beginning of your testimony, I had asked a question on how much above code you guys are. You're not, you're trying to get minimum compliance with the exiting. So that's different. So we just need to know that. And then there'll be, you need to meet the code. So that'll be in a decision and you have to work that out with the reviewing agency.
Okay.
All right? All right. All right, we're going to hopefully draft this up for you guys. If you can hang tight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lola, we're going off the record.
Okay. With respect to petition number 2025-0079, West Islip Union Free School District, petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1227, the 2020 existing building code of New York State, Section 1102.2. 19 NYCRR, Part 1221, the building code of New York State, the 2020 building code of New York State, Section 506.2. 19 NYCRR, Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 707.6. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the subject building is properly classified as an E occupancy, 2 stories in height, and of type 2B construction. The building has been in use as an education facility since 1957 and currently enrolls students at the high school level. Number two, the existing pool is comprised of a basement level that contains pool maintenance equipment, an upper level that includes the pool itself, and a reinforced concrete tiered seating area that leads to an internal mezzanine. The basement level of the pool is comprised of a reinforced concrete floor as well as 12-inch reinforced concrete walls and 6-inch CMU infill walls. The pool deck is 7 inches of reinforced concrete. The reinforced concrete tiered seating is a minimum of 7 inches thick. The rear wall of the internal pool mezzanine is 4 inches of CMU. Number three, the West Islip Union Free School District proposes a 3,200 square foot 2-story addition to accommodate the expansion of the existing swimming pool by 1 lane. The swimming pool is located on the east side of the subject building with the east wall of the area abutting the exterior. The proposal is to move the wall approximately 19 feet further to the east to provide for the pool expansion. At the present time, the pool only has 5 lanes. Expanding to a 6-lane pool would allow the high school and middle school to host 3 versus 3 competition swim meets as opposed to the current 2-to-2. 4, as per table 506.2 and the frontage increase as allowed by section 506.3 found in the 2020 Building Code of New York State, the allowable building area would be 25,375 square feet for the occupancy and construction type of the subject building. Number 5, petitioner argues that because of the nature of the proposed project, it would be impossible to construct a firewall between the existing building and the proposed addition. It would also be financially and physically impractical to install an automatic sprinkler system throughout the entire building. Number 6, to mitigate the deficiency of the extended building area, the petitioner proposes that the pool area will be compartmentalized using fully code-compliant fire barriers as per section 707 of the 2020 Building Code of New York State. As per table 707.3.10 in the 2020 Building Code of New York State, for a non-sprinklered building of type 2B construction and a group E occupancy, a 2-hour fire barrier wall would be required. Number 7, at the basement level, the petitioner argues that the existing 6-inch CMU and existing 12-inch reinforced concrete walls abutting the existing construction would constitute a fire barrier equal to or greater than the required 2-hour fire rating. The basement level doors located in the perimeter walls will be replaced with 90-minute B-label fire-rated doors and hardware. Any existing penetrations in the walls would be fire stopped as required to maintain a 2-hour rating. Number 8, petitioner proposes that the existing windows located between the pool and coach's locker room offices will be replaced with 90-minute fire-rated glazing and frames. Any existing penetrations in the walls will be fire stopped as required to maintain a 2-hour rating. The existing 4-inch CMU wall at the top of the mezzanine, which separates the pool from an existing mechanical mezzanine chase, will be modified to a 6-inch wide CMU wall by the addition of 2-inch solid CMU tied to the existing 4-inch CMU. Additionally, the doors at the top of the mezzanine will be modified and replaced with new 90-minute fire-rated doors, frames, and hardware. Also, 2-hour fire-rated spray proofing will be added to the underside of the mezzanine deck, which is above a first-story corridor ceiling. The depiction of the described fire barrier enclosure can be found on drawings A201, A202, and A501, which has been submitted with this application. Number 9, although the pre-existing non-conforming building area would be increased by providing for described compartmentation in item 6, smaller fire areas would be created. Number 10, to further mitigate this deficiency, the petitioner proposes that additional exits leading directly to the exterior will be provided from the addition at the basement level and the pool level. These additional exits will provide for more exit capacity. Are we keeping this in?
Yes.
We are? Okay. Are we keeping this in? I don't think this was determined in testimony. I don't know if this was.
I don't think we should.
Go ahead.
I think we need to remove that because you guys haven't really demonstrated that we're putting that on the reviewing agency. So 11 will become 10, yeah. Give me a second. How much time we got, guys? I'm reading as fast as I can.
You're good, you're good.
All right. Number 10, it is proposed that the addition will not diminish any existing exits from the existing building and shall comply with the minimum requirements of the code for the increased occupancy load. Number 11, the north and south walls between the coaches' offices, storage areas, and locker rooms will be used as a part of the fire barrier wall separation. These walls have existing necessary openings, which consist of 5 doors, a fixed window along the length of each wall. The described openings are graphically represented in section A, found in drawing A501 of the submitted documents. The walls measure approximately 63 feet in length, while the aggregate length of the openings in each measure approximately 20 feet. This would represent an aggregate length of openings of approximately 32%. Section 707.6 of the 2020 Building Code of New York State restricts the percentage of the aggregate length of the openings to 25%. So with respect to 19 NYCRR, Part 1227, the 2020 existing Building Code of New York State, Section 1102.2, 19 NYCRR, Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 506.2, and 19 NYCRR, Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 707.6. The board finds strict compliance with the provisions to Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform's code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1227, the 2020 existing Building Code of New York State, Section 1102.2, 19 NYCRR Part 1221, the 2020 Building Code of New York State, Section 506.2, and Section 707.6, B is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Number one, that all of the enhancements proposed by the petitioner in this application shall be implemented. Number two, that the proposed project shall conform to all other applicable requirements of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, including but not limited to the code's exiting requirements. So I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
Motion to approve.
May I get a second? In favor? Approved. It should be noted that the decision of this is limited to specific building and application before it as contained within addition, not being to applied approval of internal plans, specifications presented in support of this application. So we got there. All right, you understand there's 2 conditions. You got to work out that exiting with reviewing agencies. We think you'll get there.
I think it comes down to just documenting it properly.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your patience today.